Hello and welcome to Insider Focus. Let's talk about Celtic Football Club. Big summer ahead, big week ahead for them as well. We're going to look at some of their players who could leave the club after such a successful season. As Ange Postecoglou has spoken about already, it's hard to keep prying eyes away from their stars. So we're going to look at who is wanted. We'll also talk about Ange Postecoglou and Spurs as well. So before we get started, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Really helps us out. But onward with our focus on Celtic Football Club. We'll start on Matt O'Riley, a player that has been with Celtic now since last summer. He joined in July 2022 and he's contracted until 2026. He's been impressive for Celtic again this season, consistently getting assists and is just a player that looks like he could become better and better, and he's only 22 years old. The Denmark international is wanted by clubs in England. We know that some clubs in Italy have also scouted him as well. O'Riley, obviously, like I said, Celtic in the commanding position with his contract length, but O'Riley has always been highly looked at, and then within the game, people talk about him quite highly as well. So the opportunity for people to come in this summer is quite high, and we do think that that could happen. I expect over the next couple of weeks you'll start to hear of those clubs that are interested. We'll try and bring that to you on Football Insider as soon as we've got it. But Matt O'Riley is a target for a number of clubs in England and around Europe. Premier League clubs interested too, and that can always give people a bit of fear when it comes to their best players in Scotland, because the Premier League pool is always going to be there. And Matt O'Riley is certainly a player that is attracting eyes from the Premier League. And the midfield teammate of O'Riley is attracting big interest, and that is Reo Hatate. We've spoken about him before. We exclusively put out Brighton's interest in the Japanese international midfielder, and that's no surprise. He's been absolutely fantastic since he's come to Celtic. Very, very silky, technically a brilliant player. Had his injury this season, and if it wasn't for that, perhaps would have been in the running for Player of the Year, but he was beaten to that, of course, by a certain striker who we are going to talk about. Sorry, Celtic fans, I know that will make you nervous, but Hatate has got interest from the Bundesliga, from Spain and from the Premier League. We know Brighton like him a lot. There's obviously talk about Mitoma and him and the relationship there. Whether that actually infringes or helps the deal is different. I think if Brighton come in for him and he knows his mate's there and that's happening, that's certainly make him feel more comfortable, but a lot of parameters would have to be met for Celtic to sell Hatate as well. We only know that it's something that Brighton have looked at, scouted, they've watched him, and it's not gone much further than that at this point. If it does, it could be over the next couple of weeks. Now the season's ended, a lot of clubs are pushing for certain things and moving certain things through. They're now full focus on building for next season, and this is where those who are interested in Reo Hatate will start to come in. Make sure you're following us to hear about that, because Hatate is certainly a player that is wanted by a number of clubs, and a good deal for Celtic could be done here of around 10 to 15 million pounds maybe for Hatate. It won't be cheap. They don't have any kind of reason to sell or need to sell. Like I said, 2026 is when his contract is up, to Celtic in a good position here. There are always certain clauses in contracts that might allow for negotiations with players, and Hatate could be in that mould for sure. But that doesn't mean Celtic are going to lose out on a load of money. It just means that Celtic might have to cash in and make a profit, and that's certainly the way Scottish football is sometimes, because when the Premier League comes with the Premier League money, Scotland sometimes has to take advantage of that. We shall see in the coming weeks over Reo Hatate, but certainly a player who is absolutely wanted by a number of clubs around Europe and in the English Premier League. A couple of players to take note of quickly that we expect could leave Celtic this summer. Well, first off is James McCarthy, on the fringes for a long time, doesn't really play, has problems with injuries, and was given a long-term deal, to the dismay of some fans at the time as well. And that relationship now looks like it's going to come to an end. They tried in January, they'd opened it up for sale and told clubs that he was available, but of course it just didn't come to fruition. And we do believe that Championship and League One clubs in England would be very keen to bring McCarthy in the summer, and we should expect that to happen. McCarthy already working with his team and agents to find himself a new home in the summer, and we expect him to leave Celtic Football Club finally, kind of, it feels like, because they've been working on that for a long, long time. Now, a player who is attracting interest, not just from England, but from other clubs in Scotland too, is David Turnbull. Now, his contract's up in 2024, and this is where Celtic will have to make a decision on those talks. At the moment, where we're unsure whether that's going to happen or not. There's not been any kind of real pointer in either direction. I think all sides are waiting perhaps till after the Scottish Cup final, and we'll touch on Postecoglou with that as well. The Scottish Cup final is huge. Celtic are on for a treble, but Turnbull is a player that's only been In and out, really, probably not been as consistent as he would have liked at Celtic, but he was a player with great talent when he was at Motherwell, and Celtic signed him for the reasons of how good he had been there. Perhaps not kicked on to where Celtic would like to be, and we expect that again to be an area that Celtic strengthen in the summer, which leaves the door open for someone like Turnbull, who's got 1 year left on his deal currently, to move in the summer. Celtic, of course, could offer him something in the coming weeks. Keep an eye out for that to try and keep him at the club. But there's much interest in Turnbull's situation from a number of clubs who would happily take him, especially because he's got 1 year left. They will many see that as an opportunity to get a good deal for a good player, a player that's been capped by his country, that's had moments for Celtic where you've seen the real what he can be in those moments too. So look out for Turnbull leaving in the summer, because this is definitely something that is a real possibility. So let's go on to that striker, shall we? Let's talk about Kyogo Furuhashi, who's had an unbelievable season again for Celtic. 33 goals in all competitions, Player of the Year, Players Player of the Year, Club Player of the Year. He's been absolutely fantastic, hasn't he? 27 goals in the league, which is no mean feat at all. Contracted till 2025 and happy at Celtic. I will report that. We do know that he's very happy at Celtic. However, there is major interest from the Bundesliga and from Crystal Palace for one, amongst others, in the English Premier League. Palace are keen to strengthen up front. They've had that relationship there with the Odsonne-Edouard deal in previous history. They've watched him as well on a number of occasions at Celtic Park. So we do expect Palace to make some more moves over the coming weeks. But like I said, contracted till 2025, Celtic in a very good position for the Kyogo deal. They will demand a high fee, and quite rightly too, because he's a striker that's scoring goals and they're hard to come by, especially in the number that he is putting them away. Sometimes disappears, doesn't he? A bit like the Haaland, not comparing the players, but a bit like Haaland in terms of he might not have many touches, but he could still score a number of goals during a game. So look out for this here. However, another adage to this is we do think Kyogo would be open to a new contract at Celtic Park because he is enjoying his time there. So much loved by the fans, isn't he? Scoring goals and winning trophies. 28 years old, perhaps he's coming to the peak of his powers. So that either means there'll be one big move or one big contract, we feel, at this time. And Celtic could offer a new deal in the coming weeks as well to fend off interest from those around them. It depends if Celtic want to cash in or keep their star man. So we do understand there's interest there, but there is also a real possibility of Celtic opening contract talks in the next couple of weeks. We'll be up to date with that again, so make sure you're following to keep up with that. But Kyogo, really interesting story over the summer. Like I said, major interest from Palace and many clubs in the Bundesliga, but also the opportunity for him to perhaps get a new contract at Celtic Park. There could be a decision to make for the Japanese international striker, who's played 16 times for his country and is scoring goals galore for Celtic. And let's finish off with talking about the manager, shall we? Ange Postecoglou, of course, is linked with the Tottenham job, and those links are correct. He is a front runner for the position currently. His full focus is on the Scottish Cup final. We can understand why. Like I said, Celtic are in to win the treble, and that's all he's saying his full focus is on. Brendan Rodgers has dropped out the race, which clears the way again more for Postecoglou if he wants to make that move. And not only that, the rolling contract he's on means that his fee to exit Celtic isn't massive. Like was one of the problems with the Arne Slot deal, who was set to take the Tottenham job, was the fee from Feyenoord, amongst many other things. So Postecoglou to Tottenham is possible. He's only ever done 3 years at a club. He's not done any more than that. He is a man that whether that's been by coincidence or just by circumstance or by choice, that's been the kind of repetitive way for Postecoglou in his career. However, he has said, you'll be surprised how long I'm here, and we could see him maybe sign a new deal that confirms him and solidifies his position at Celtic. But Tottenham we expect to maybe make more moves after, well, we do expect them to make more moves after the Scottish Cup final at the weekend. It could be Ange Postecoglou's last chance at a trophy with Celtic if Tottenham get their way and get their man. He's a clear front runner for the position now if he wants it. There are other options for Tottenham, of course, but they've had a few of them over the last few weeks. And Postecoglou, it reeks similarities actually of when he took the Celtic job. Eddie Howe was the favourite and he was going to get it, and who's this guy, wasn't first choice, etc. And it's a similar kind of position for Spurs as well. So one to watch over the coming weeks. Full focus for Celtic on the cup final, full focus for Postecoglou, Kyogo, all the players on the cup final, and hoping that Celtic can make that treble. That's what they'll be wanting. Of course, Kyogo as well, just to add his knock that he was taken off for the weekend. We understand it was after a clash with Kel Roos, the goalkeeper, a pain in the foot, and it shouldn't be anything too serious. All going to plan, he should be available for Celtic at the weekend. Postecoglou in line for the Tottenham job. Of course, we shall wait and see about that over the coming weeks. Kyogo, where does his future lie? Hatate, a wanted man. O'Reilly, a wanted man. David Turnbull could leave the club, and McCarthy could finally exit Celtic Park in the summer. Never mind the fact that Celtic, of course, are going to add to the squad as well to continue and try and be better in Europe than they were last season. A big summer ahead for Celtic, a big summer ahead for the fans. Lots to work out in the next couple of weeks, and I'm sure the news will start to filter through on what is going to happen. Hold on to your seats because it's probably going to be a very busy month. See you in the next one. Cheerio.